Hi there and welcome to Facebook Live with AACS. My name is Stacy Wells. I'm here at my Canton campus of L'Esprit Academy to bring you some instructions on the Do No Harm rule. I'm currently the Vice Chair of the association, and our big push right now is comment period for Do No Harm. So I'm going to wait a few minutes while people join. The idea on this, we were starting at 1, and this is probably the first time in my life I've started something on time, so thank you for the pressure of Facebook Live. We've got people coming in, so I'm going to give it a few more minutes. And actually, I think I've got such a pretty audience here right now I want to show everybody. And they're calming my nerves because I've never done a Facebook Live, but here we go. These are cosmetology students and some estheticians in here too. So, all right, we've got more people joining. I'll give it another minute. And their comments will appear. So hopefully I can multitask, teach all of you about this Do No Harm rule if you don't know about it already, and you can put comments and questions. I will try to get to all of them. Hopefully I'll answer it within the presentation. But it's 1:01 right now. I'll give it another 30 seconds or so, and then we'll get started. As I was talking to this lovely group of folks, I am the co-founder of L'Esprit Academy with my mom and dad. We started the schools after having a background in the beauty industry, started the schools here in Michigan in the Detroit area back in '04 when my son was an infant. I'm happy to say he just graduated from Michigan State University 21 years later from starting L'Esprit Academy. And why I mention that is that it is a career of beauty can do so many wonderful things for your family and for you as a person, personally and professionally. Shout out to Canton. Yes, thanks, Amanda. Woohoo. And why I bring this up is it was a career in beauty that allowed me to be at home with my kids when I needed to be at the baseball games, to work backstage with my daughter with her performing arts, and allow me to actually share some of my skills and be involved in her life. And so that's one of the primary stories that we have to tell about the beauty industry is we are 90% female dominated, and we have a great story to share, working part-time hours with viable careers. So without further ado, let me get into this. And we've got a good crowd on live. So here we go. This is what we're talking about. As the American Association of Career Schools, we advocate for beauty, barbering, and wellness education. Part of that advocacy happens on the federal level, as well as the state level or local levels. What advocacy means is we are promoting what we do and protecting what we do from either harmful legislation, laws, regulation, and rules. And we want to promote what we do within that realm as well. The Do No Harm rule is something that came out of federal legislation. So if you go back my day and age, we used to watch Schoolhouse Rock. And Schoolhouse Rock explained how the government works, right? And how a bill becomes a law and so forth. So this bill became a law, and it was called the One Big Beautiful Bill. I'm sure everybody's heard of it. And in that bill, they had a specific section in there about do no harm. And something in recent years that's been a hot point for people is education. And people want value out of their education. And most of the time, they've been talking about public funding of education. Where that comes in and where we differ from that is our students have access to loans and grants provided by the federal government. Our schools, most of ours, all of them that are private for profit, don't have government subsidies. This is just access to loans and grants for our schools. So that's what we're specifically talking about today. And in that law, they put in, look, we should have a way to measure a successful outcome from a program. And then we're going to call that the Do No Harm rule, which means that we're going to measure the earnings of a graduate after they've left school to see if that education has paid off. Now, it's about an investment in someone's future. Well, we all know that we invest in our futures with our time and certainly with our treasure, but the government wants to know that that's paying off. They've created this in multiple ways. over many years. One was called gainful employment. This latest is called do no harm. But in the law, it specifically left out certificate programs, which is primarily what cosmetology, barbering, aesthetics, massage therapy is. They're certificate level programs. And the government was intentional about this because it's such a low loan debt compared to other programs that are 2 years plus. And I know that specifically, having told my my story of my son just graduating from Michigan State. He does not have a median loan debt like a L'Esprit Academy graduate. It is about 8 or 10 times higher. Actually, it's about 10 times higher than a L'Esprit Academy graduate. So we provide a service to students that want a career in beauty. This is their path to a profession through education, and that's required for licensure in a way that's efficient. We upskill what we call a domestic workforce, right? Very quickly, in less than a year. But the government has come in and said with this law, look, we're gonna compare your graduates 4 years out of school to a group of high school graduates up to 18 years out of school. So those high school graduates could have certificate level training as well. They could have apprenticeships in, say, electrician or HVAC, and can be earning full-time hours. And they're going to compare our group of graduates only 4 years out of school with their earnings to this other group. We think that's unfair for multiple reasons. I'll run through why we think this is unfair, because it's mostly part-time hours. Our average earner for a licensed professional is 22.5 to 28 hours per week. 90% female, as we know, sadly, there is a gender wage gap, and women earn only a percentage of what men do. So with a 90% dominated female industry, it seems like an unfair metric. And we also are a nuanced industry where there's a lot of freelance, there's entrepreneurship. So with that comes other things that are like unreported or underreported income. Think tips wages or side hustles, or you go off and you do a weekend of weddings, and not all of that income necessarily gets put on your tax forms. Or we have a lot of what they call solopreneurs or entrepreneurs. So the whole idea of working for yourself is to get your net revenue as low as possible for tax reasons, right? So what happens is it shows that you're not making enough money according to the federal government. So they're going to say, hey, look, you don't make as much as what you could make out of high school 18 years down the road, right? Working full time. Well, we know that's not a fair comparison. So what does this mean to you? Should this final rule go through? Well, it will limit access to loans and grants for future students. Now, I'm not going to call people out in this room, but most of our students have some level of need for financial aid. My son needed some financial aid. Most people do. It's the story of life right now. I mean, the cost of fuel alone right now is, we all could use a little financial aid there. But am I right, folks? Everybody's laughing because they have to fill up their tanks to get to school on time. But it's a real thing, and that's what the government is saying. Look, 92% by their own numbers on this metric, this comparison, 92% of schools will lose access to loans and grants. Now, if 92% of my students, if I were teaching a class, failed an exam, I'd probably look at myself and go, whoa, I'm either testing the wrong thing or the test isn't accurate. And I believe with this rule, the test isn't an accurate test of what it means to be either gainfully employed or the value of a program. And are you following me all already? It's a complicated rule, but when you break it down like that, it's just an unfair comparison of wages after graduation. So that is the primary thing I've been working on for the last several months with our association, with lots of other groups, is trying to bring this to the government's attention. Our lawmakers created this law, but the agency, the Department of Ed on the other side, the bureaucrats decided, I know you eliminated certificate programs in the law, but we're going to put it back in. So that's why we're mad, because this does not make sense for our industry. So what can we do about it? Well, we certainly don't want to limit access to loans and grants for all of you. So the government does, when they put out a new rule, they allow for a comment period. And this is our time for our voices to be heard. We can comment on this proposed rule. And what all the government wants to know is your unique story and why you think the rule is either good, bad, or otherwise. And my goal here today is to give you the facts as I know them and to suggest that you make comment, because although it won't affect you all right here, right now in school, 3 years down the road, that future professional that wants to go to school may have no options for financial aid, may not have an option to go to a school. Not one cosmetology program in Michigan, where we are right now, passes this metric. And I had a meeting yesterday with Chairman, Congressman Tim Walberg. He's the chairman of the Education and Workforce Committee, and he didn't know that. I said, Chairman, none of our schools here in Michigan passed this test. Does that make sense? And he agreed, no, it didn't make sense. And he wasn't happy that the agency put certificate programs back in, because it was designed exactly to help what we do so well, which is upskill you quickly and get you out there working. Because I know a lot of you can't wait to get out there and start your own companies, right? And start your own business, get a salon suite. So that's what I'm here to guide you through today. So by the government's own numbers, 92% of schools will not pass the metric, 100% here in Michigan, okay? And 90% of massage therapy schools. And we know, especially as working professionals, we do not have a massage therapy program here at the school, but I know for myself, I would be not as balanced of a person, and I think there's a few people in here that probably challenge me on it, without my monthly massage, right? Especially working in this industry, whether you're working at a laptop or you're cutting hair or working behind the, at the table, we need that. They're integral parts of our community. Your future is an integral part of a community. In the shopping plaza we're in right now, there's the laser store next door, there's the arcade cuts right here in the same plaza as our school. They're gonna need future professionals to staff their business. So it is a big economic effect for our whole community, right? So it's the person that's sitting in your chair that now in several years, when there's not enough people to fill these open jobs, instead of waiting 2 weeks to get in with you, they may have to wait 2 months to get in with you, right? And you don't want that. When you're having your own business, which a lot of you will, you'll be looking to our graduates to employ, whether as assistants or building your workforce in your own salon. All of a sudden, that pipeline will dry up. And that's not good for any community, And so, especially such a hands-on personal community. We do more when it comes to, it's obviously very hands-on. This is an AI-proof kind of environment. This is the one personal service, Anthropic, that does Claude. I don't know if any of you are into AI, but they just came out with a report 2 weeks ago, and personal services was the only career that was unaffected and not vulnerable to AI. So you've chosen well. You've chosen really, really well. So let's have that heard. All right, so enough about that. I'm going to hand this over so you can see my screen. If I could have an assistant come up and show the screen here. We do have a one-pager on this do no harm rule. You are the perfect assistant. Thank you so much. So you can show that screen. So on the screen, it breaks down everything that I just said. I talked to you about why the do no harm rule, what it does. Should this go through, it will prevent access and opportunity for loans and grants for students in the beauty, barbering, and wellness field. And it's an unfair wage comparison. So what can you do about it? Well, at the bottom of the screen, and if everybody wants to take out your phones right now, you also will receive this. My students will receive this email, most likely by Monday. We don't want to overwhelm you, but check out that QR code. It links directly to the comment page. And what we're going to do today is walk you through how to comment. Now, as I've talked about this rule, I have been deep in the weeds on it, meaning following it every step of the way. The good news is you don't have to. And that's what I'm here to help you do. And I'm trying to make it as simple as possible for you to understand the rule, but also as simple as possible for you to comment. So has everybody pulled up that QR code successfully? If you cannot do it, you feel free to walk right up. And those of us that are on the Facebook Live, if you go to myaacs.org, it'll take you right to a tutorial on how to walk through and right to the page. So I'm going to bring you to the AACS page right now. And there's some on the wall. You can pass that around. Sorry. I'm going to just move it right to the Where that QR code should land you is right here. Is that where it landed you?
Yes.
Protect the beauty, barber, and wellness industry.
Yes.
Submit your comments to the government. So it basically is going to tell you just what I spoke to you about. This new federal rule could cut off access to financial aid for our programs. And this is how you can help fix it. So the first thing is, you know what this rule is about, right? What's it about? Access to loans and grants, right, for our schools. And I think that's really, really important that you all know that. You're good. It's about the future and the economic impact when you open your salons, because you want to be hiring our graduates. We have until May 20th to submit these comments. So I think the big question is, people say, well, what kind of comment do I make? It's the government. Do I have to be a lawyer to write this? No. Do you have to have any that would be very problematic? So those are the kind of stories that are important that we share. So what you do is you will go to the regulations.gov, and we'll get there in a second, but you will go and click through. Again, I highly recommend you follow the prompts here, because it is much easier than trying to do it on your own. I tried to do it on my own. I finally did it, but it's way easier to just follow this. What you'll do is you'll think about how this affects you. You will follow the links, and then you'll type to upload your comment. What you'll do is you can see on the right-hand side of your screen, a pop-up will come up. So on the regulations.gov, it goes right to the rule that we're talking about, and you'll have to choose the private for-profit, because that's the school's issue that this affects. And then you will go to the type your comment here section. And this is where you don't even have to reference the rule by its number or its name. You can call it the do no harm rule, but this is where you're going to say, I think this is a mistake, or I think this rule will be unfair or harmful in the following ways. Here's my story. Here's why I chose this. Maybe your story is, I wouldn't be able to go to school had I not had access to a loan or grant. Having access to loan or grants allowed me to go to school and work part-time or take care of my family. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to afford it. Or I wouldn't have had the opportunity to pursue something I wanted to pursue. Or without this, I've tried community college, I've gone to a 4-year school. I wanted this because this was my choice. This is a career that I choose to work in and thrive in. So those types of stories, I don't know, are any of you from families that have salons or are licensed professionals? You can speak to that, right? So I grew up in the business as well. And beauty we had a salon, my mom opened her first salon in 1979. And sure, she created kind of her own pipeline of talent, but she hired from beauty school graduates. Mm-hmm. And she got to do advanced training. She wasn't doing the foundational training. She was too busy to do that. So she required, a local beauty school to give her those graduates, and continued. Beauty, the salon business, put me through college and my brother without ever having to take out a loan or grant. Mm-hmm. And that's a viable career. And to think that the government's now going to measure you and say it's not a viable career. I know that's not true. And so that's one of the stories that I'm going to tell. I know it's not true. And because it's an unfair metric to hold the school accountable for something that a graduate 4 years down the road has to report as income, right? Hold us accountable to all the other things that we're accountable to. We have a outcome rate of a graduation rate, licensure rate, placement rate, cohort default rate, meaning we have to keep our numbers low on whether or not students default on their student loans. We already manage all of those things. There's already accountability in place, yet they're gonna hold the school, they're gonna punish the school and future students with limiting access to loans and grants based on what graduates report in earnings. Does that make sense to you? You get that? And I think it does not make any common sense on following the line of the value of a program. So explaining that is a very important piece to your comments. So what we'll do is we'll go into, this talks about these proposed metrics, why it doesn't really reflect on the real situation. A recent study showed that earnings versus the reality is a 46% difference. Graduates earn actually 46% higher than the government's own statistics. So those are important things that we're getting out there to the people in charge, but to have your story wrapped around that is very, very important. So this just goes through the key metrics. Again, this is all available through the QR code on that one pager, as well as going to myaacs.org. In why this matters, you can even click on these things. Why does it matter to a student? Well, it's less access to affordable training and career opportunities. For those licensed professionals, for any professionals that are online, fewer schools means fewer stylists, right? It's that next wave of talent that you want to bring into your salon that will be affected by it. So now the big drum roll on this is how do you do this? Well, you do it by submitting your comment. Here at the bottom, you see this box that lit up, submit your comment now. By clicking on that, it will take you directly to the place to do your comments. So if you click on that on your phones right now, should go over to this really boring page, which is regulations.gov. But it's the exact spot where the comments are important. So much like this previous screen, and some of you, if you want to do your comments now, you can do them now. You can do them when you get home. You can do them anytime between now and May 20th. May 20th is the deadline. You do not have to write a whole essay. You can tell your story in a paragraph. It's just important that these are unique comments to you. And the government, this is the cool part, the government is required to read every comment. So the more comments we give them, the more they have to do. And I say we flood them with our perspective. This is our time to let our voices be heard. It's our time to stand up for those future professionals. Think of you 5 years ago. And whether you had a dream to always do this or it was something that came up recently, you'd hate to see that opportunity lost for that future you, right? So what you'll do then is you write a comment. It goes to this, again, incredibly boring page. You go into this box right here, start typing your comment here. And you can literally say, dear agency, or no greeting at all. My name is, you can even submit it anonymously, but you can say, I'm a current cosmetology student, or I'm a second generation future licensed professional. And this is why it's important to me that this rule be excluded or this rule be changed, because it was vital to my enrolling in school to have access to loans and grants. Or it wasn't to me, but I know my friends couldn't do it without loans or grants. Or I'd hate to see that person that I was 5 years ago not have that opportunity. Whatever your story is, there's lots of suggestions, again, on the myaacs.org website, but it's important that your comments are unique. Please do not use AI for this, because they have AI algorithms that they'll run it through and they'll pitch all those comments. Plus, you're way smarter than AI, and it's way more sincere, it's way more genuine, and it will really have an impact. I'd much rather hear your unique story than to have something created artificially, because yours is way more interesting. So you'll type your comments there. You could do it a number of ways. You can type it up in a Word document and then just copy and paste it in. And when it says select a comment category, that was that box that we showed in the previous screen. It says it's the private for-profit. Yep, and there's the pull down. There's a graphic that will show you, and it's right here in the middle of my screen that I can't seem to grab. That's what you'll choose. And then if you have any files to attach, you can certainly attach a cute picture of yourself, or if you have some really amazing data or a study you wanted to reference, you certainly can, but no need to. Really, your voice and your words are far more important than anything else. And getting the quantity out there. If you have friends that are graduates, I highly recommend you encourage them to take 5 minutes and do this. It's very important. It will make an impact. And that was something that I got out of our meeting yesterday with the congressman. He said, it's important to hear your voices, make some noise. And I know this group is a passionate group, and I've seen it firsthand, and I've been, I want to say people have been cheering this whole thing on, and without that energy, this rule could get a little dicey for us, so we need your energy now. And then you'll fill out your email address. You can certainly use your school email address or your personal one, and then you tell if you're an individual, an organization, or again, you can remain anonymous. And you have to which is funny to me. The government, you have to ensure that you're not a robot, because they will toss comments out there that they think are bot driven or AI driven. So you'll just confirm that you're not a robot, and you'll submit your comment right here at the bottom, clicking I submit. The one thing it does warn, so do read this, no personally identifiable information, which is funny because they do ask for your email address, but that's okay. You just would, don't put your social security number in there, or don't put your mother's maiden name in there. But I think it's pretty self-explanatory. You have done forms before, but this is a very simple task for you, which will have a huge impact. And there's not a lot of times in life where people are asking you for your real opinion and your real voice that could affect a big outcome, and this is one of those moments. And so you can be part of a revolution. So any questions? I don't know if I have any on the live stream. I don't know if somebody could take.
Do you want me to turn it
Sure,
on?
yeah, you're good. But any questions from the group? All right, let me see here. Still we got people hanging on. Oh, it's very hard to hear. I'm sorry, it was hard to hear. I probably should have had.
I was making sure.
You're good. Yeah. Personalized stories are very important. People have chimed in on that. Can this be watched after the live is over? Yes, we're gonna download it, and hopefully we will probably do. Should it be helpful? Should you find this helpful? We will do another one. But it's really wanted to break the mystery of it, that it doesn't have to be complicated, and that we really want to hear your story. You don't have to write 4 pages. It can be a paragraph, something that's meaningful to you. So we flipped the screen. I think that worked. I'm just looking through these questions to make sure I've gotten everything. Thank you everyone for getting on board. We can certainly do another one where we can roll out. Somebody was singing the Schoolhouse Rock I'm Just a Bill song, which if you haven't heard it, I will not sing it for you, but it is it's a banger. I highly recommend you YouTube it. Yeah, so tell your stories. I think we got all the questions asked. Feel free to ask one now. And we got it in under 30 minutes. Amazing group here, amazing group online. Thank you so much for joining us. And we can do one again next week. Certainly tune in for your schools. I know there are a lot of schools that are deploying it differently, but we wanted this to be a light lift for our member schools to share. You can have it done in your classrooms, and if it's we can record it. We've recorded it and download it. Then you can share with your night programs as well. I'm happy to do another live if people are wanting to hear me suck the oxygen out of the room again. But this was a great group. I got to give it up for my Canton campus of Cosmo and SB students and some of my educators back there. Again, thank you so much. Your comments and your voices mean everything. And so please do not discount that at all. So thank you so much, and we'll be back in touch soon.